421 2+2. We've come all this way from a little ad in a newsletter that big to look at a 421 Tri-Power 65 Catalina that has got the most crazy story. We should have videoed that story. This car has been meticulously nut and bolt restored when and where necessary, and it needed a lot of work. Crank this baby up.
Ready?
What a story behind this car. Been sitting for a couple of years and she fires right up. Oh, I love it. The chokes aren't too rich, so you gotta feather the throttle a little bit to keep her alive.
I think the choke needs to be a little richer.
Better to be a little too much open than a little too much on the closed side, because otherwise it just floods the engine with gasoline. I don't mind feathering it, keep it alive. This car came down the assembly. I wish I'm gonna have to have the owner repeat the entire story to me. Came down the assembly line as a Catalina 389 2-barrel bench seat column shift in turquoise, and some bigwig says, no, stop the presses. I want a 2+2 4-speed Catalina 421 Tri-Power, and here it is. Rumble, rumble. Wow. No pitting in that chrome.
It's in the West.
I was just looking to say that Parisienne I looked at, they didn't look so great. I think it had the most pits I've ever seen on a piece of molding.
Yeah, this was, I bought it in a swap meet, I think for $15. It had a crack. I can't remember where it was. It's right in here somewhere. So I had it repaired and then re-chrome it.
Actually, I see it.
Probably right there, yeah.
It's like that line in the bumper when they double stamp the Corvair bumpers. If you look really carefully,
yeah, you can see it.
It's really faint. These must have had a die that stamped these bumpers 5 times because they're so massive. The Corvair bumper is just a blade. I love the rumble of that cam. Just enough to catch someone's attention.
Yeah.
So even though it was specially made at the last minute, I'm sort of telling that story. You told me that it came down the line as a turquoise bench seat column shift 389 2-barrel. Even though they loaded it up with options, it still ended up with a 4-barrel 421, which all the 2+2s had the 421. No 389s and the 2+2s. So you've upgraded it with the tachometer, the correct tachometer, the wood wheel.
Yeah, no, it's actually a 66 tachometer because they got a red line.
Well, close enough.
But that's the only difference.
Yeah, it's close enough.
And I put the gauge package because it had the what do you call it? Speed alert?
Mm-hmm. The speed minder, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I took that out and put the gauge package in it.
Oh, so you couldn't have the speed minder and the gauge?
No.
Oh! Oh, what a rumble. Gauges, temperature, fuel, 66 tachometer with a red line, fuel, battery. Oh, so wait, what's over here then? Oil pressure. Ah, because the fuel gauge is over there.
Yeah, I got a high pressure oil pump in it, so it's when you first start it up, it's
right
60. So you rev it up now. Clock works.
So even though it was a loaded 2+2 after the alterations, you still added the wood wheel, the 66 tachometer. Did it come with the 4-way flasher? Was that original?
No, I added that too.
Added that too.
I can't remember if it come with it. I don't think it
Day Nightmare.
I put that, it's got the reverberator.
I think I have one of those AM/FMs with the slide. 67, they went to the push button at either end.
Yeah.
And they had a black button version, a silver button version. I have a few of them. I've been collecting stuff. So a highly optioned 65 with a few extra options. The deluxe seat belts last year was 65 with the lift buckle. Then they went to the push button with a satin finish.
Yeah, they just come on the front. You didn't get them in the back till 66.
No seat belts at all in the back?
Not till 66.
Because front seat belts were standard in January of 65 as well as the outside rear view mirror. So you'll see some early 65s, like my Corvair has no mirror, and somebody put it on down there. They weld up the door and fix it. And this is a remote mirror, and you have an accompanying one on the other side, which was never seen, ever, until the late 70s. They didn't even have this till 65.
In fact, this is an NOS one too.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this a painted pinstripe?
That was painted on there.
A painted...
Right after it was painted. I think he charged me $85.
Just to go down... It's beautifully done.
Yeah, the guy was really good.
Corvair had a pinstripe down here, a single line, 1 year only, 65. 1 year old. You wonder why they put it on. This was a factory 8-lug car, I think.
Yep.
Wow, this paint is primo.
And I think this one is NOS too. The other one's original. The other side.
So you found this car in a junkyard in '82 or so, and the motor was in a shed, and the transmission was going to go into a Safari to make a 4-speed Safari, so-called 2+2 Safari, or a 6+6 Safari, or whatever they'd call it. So somebody else rescued it, painted it back from the light blue, which should have been turquoise, back to black.
The car was black in the junkyard.
Oh, it was already black in the junkyard.
Yeah, okay. It was already black in the junkyard. So when Jim Weaver got it, and he made it the correct color.
But not the quality of paint job we see here.
No.
And after years of you driving it, enjoying it, 15 or so years, in the paint shop it went for the real. I guess you figured after 15 years the car was good enough to deserve. And here it is as we see it. With all the beautiful parts, power, antenna. Can you pull it out, or it's kind of muddy here and soft? This fill needs a few more years to settle.
Oh, hell no, I'd rather not. I'd rather not take it out.
Yeah, because it's going to leave all the marks of the... Wow.
And this is what you call a car jacket.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
I was wondering why it was underneath the wheels. I get it.
There's two covers on it.
Car jacket. They have them for the motorcycles where you inflate it and the air stays inside all winter so you don't get that moisture problem. Because this car is...
Just here, it's got desiccant bags put in there.
Has what?
Desiccant.
Oh, desiccant, yeah.
And bring that over and zip it all up. And nothing rusts in it. Nothing.
I see it. Everything stays just the way when you parked it.
Yeah.
What an amazing car. Well, I guess at least you should rev it up a couple times so we can hear it rumble with that McKellar 068 cam. They're parting out GM cars here. There's a clip. Oh man, 421 HO tri-power. No rust on those rolls. That starter bushing is tight when it spins down. Zing! I rebuild my own starters.
So do I.
I always get an undersized bushing, a 10,000 or 100,000 undersized, whatever it is. And it squishes down on that starter drive, so when you release the key, do that one more time, start it up, and we'll hear the starter spin down. When you let go of the key, the starter... Oh, I can hear it. Not a door ding, nothing. Pure perfection. .421 tri-powered has the correct HO exhaust manifold shape-coated. It's swept back further on the passenger side. And it's got an oil filter adapter. It's a unique HO exhaust manifold. There they are. What a rumble.
Now it's quiet. I had to run it yesterday and it was making noise.
They'll do that. And the aluminum radiator you put in is authentically stamped to look like the brass radiator, so it's as close as you can get without being an original radiator. It's beautifully done, correct tower clamp. You can turn it off now. We're both going to get asphyxiated. As much as we love the old cars, they run a little rich. That motor is tight. It's got the correct air conditioning fan that has a notch so it doesn't hit the power steering pump nut. The correct notched fan. Surprisingly, it doesn't use the large pulley alternator. Would it have been a larger pulley alternator if it was an HO, a 421 HO, like the Chevys used, a larger pulley on the alternator?
I don't think so. I believe the only difference was just the amp rate.
Okay. Which you could have gotten the HO high output alternator, it was always an option. They had a bigger energizer, correct
Yep.
spring ring clamps.
Yeah, this has got the automatic air.
Oh, the Comfortron, which Cadillacs had it. My mother's Grand Prix had that in '79.
This is the first year for it.
Tempetrol, Comfortron, Selectron.
All the units that operate that up, it's all NOS. I replaced it all. But I haven't charged the system yet.
Electronic voltage. It still runs R12?
There's nothing in it now.
Oh,
That's a
Sight glass.
rebuilt. That's a rebuilt compressor.
There's
But
the sight
I've never-
glass.
Yeah, I've never charged it yet.
Doesn't have the big pulley either. I wonder if they ever offered a bigger pulley on the HOs. Usually it slowed down the W30 Oldses, W31s used a larger pulley so it wouldn't spin as fast at high RPM. If air conditioning was even available, most of the high performance cars didn't have air, but some did. A 365 horsepower Corvette could have come with air conditioning.
Well, usually when you got air with a manual car, manual shift car, you got a 323 rear end.
They dropped
This
the
is-
axle ratio.
This has still got a 342 in it.
342, which
So it
spins
must
the
be
engine.
special ordered or put that way. Yeah.
Who knows? As we mentioned, it came down the line as a turquoise bench seat 2-barrel Catalina, and it ended up being swapped by a big wheel at GM. Said, nope, we're going to make that into a 2+2 Catalina with lots of options, 4-speed air conditioning as dictated by the build sheet, which we have. We just added a little bit of extra oomph with the tri-power, the correct 65 tri-power. And we could go on and on and on. He did have an electronic distributor for it, has a different tack, but it's not on this car. It just has the electronic voltage regulator. I mean, what a sweet car, the trim, the chrome. We're not going to go for a drive today because it is parked until it gets a little drier outside. There's the stock style manifolds. They got a shorter leg. The HOs come down further. It's more swept back. So when you see a 455 or a 400 HO, Firebird or Trans Am, whatever it is, it might say HO, but unless you've got documentation, I've seen far too many with short exhaust manifolds. These are swept way back, like my Buick Nailhead. They run all the way back, almost to horizontal. And that's a genuine HO exhaust manifold. I see so many cars that don't have them, and now I know the deal. They're not really HO cars. 4-speed. Wow. Beautifully painted underneath. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful car. Beautiful car. No rust in this frame. Even has a little splash shield ahead of the rear wheel. There's a little rubber splash shield with 3 little clips.
I thought he had them too.
Little rubber splash shield. You'd expect to find that on a Cadillac or a Buick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that an original Pontiac splash?
Yeah.
I've never.
Yeah.
Something you'd only, like that Catalina we saw in the junkyard, that 66. That shouldn't have been in the junkyard.
Do you want that in?
Wow. Got the safety track, posi, tag.
No, I mean out.
Wow. What a beauty. I wonder if anybody's ever taken the 8 luggers and put a 15-inch wheel on it, welded the tabs on with an extension.
There's somebody made an aftermarket one. Yeah.
Really?
And a friend of mine that has a 64 2+2 bought those. And he couldn't even get the tires
You said
balanced.
31?
33 Chevy.
33.
With lots of wood. That's why the Fords were so popular. They didn't have as much wood or no wood. Chevys were always around.
It's a rumble seat, 3-window rumble seat,
So one of those little-
All steel.
street rod made them back in 1962.
I was going to say, it looks like an old steel body car. I guess we can't look at it
Steel.
today.
Oh,
Every
so we
bit of
drove it in the Silver Lake Homecoming Parade last year.
Lovely.
Yeah, our son drove it and his little girl was on the other side. She had a bucket of candy and she was throwing candy.
In an
while he
original
was
60s,
driving.
built 50. What engine's in that Chevy? That
That's
30?
a good wrench 350. And 350 turbo, Ford 9-inch.
What was it
2 suspension.
when it was built in the 60s? What powered it back in the 60s?
It had like a 265 or 283, and let's see, it had a stick shift. Had a Studebaker rear end on it. It had them big Mickey Thompson.
Sure.
What was that?
N5015s.
Yeah. And
Steamrollers.
The slotted Anson mags.
Right, the kidney mags.
Yeah.
I've got a few of those.
Yeah.
You find this stuff in the junkyard, you buy one, you buy two, you find a few years later. 70, 71 Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Regular old boards.
No rust here.
He's just, oh, so
Love
proud of
it.
this truck, I tell you.
I like that 2+2. All right.
That's nice. That's